You have been told that renting is throwing money away and buying a home is the ultimate foundation of wealth. The math proves that locking your capital into a primary residence right now is actively costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost market momentum. By the end of this video, you will know the exact opportunity cost of home ownership and how to calculate your true housing terminal value. Consider Jake, who decided to purchase a $500,000 property. Consider Marcus, who chose to rent an identical property and invest his remaining capital. Let us strip the housing market down to its bare financial mechanics. A primary residence is a leveraged consumption asset wrapped in an emotional narrative. It provides shelter, which is a basic biological necessity. It does not generate organic cash flow unless you lease a portion of it to a tenant. True investing means deploying capital into productive entities that produce goods or services. An index fund represents fractional ownership of the most profitable corporations on the planet. These corporations actively optimize their operations to maximize returns for their shareholders. A house simply sits on a plot of land while the elements slowly degrade its physical structure. Here is the single rule that governs this entire equation. The velocity of your unrecoverable capital determines your long-term net worth. I will state that again so it is clear. The velocity of your unrecoverable capital determines your long-term net worth. Unrecoverable capital is any dollar you spend that never returns to your balance sheet. When you buy a home, your unrecoverable capital includes interest and maintenance and property taxes. When you rent a home, your unrecoverable capital is the base rent payment. Most people calculate the benefit of home ownership by comparing their monthly mortgage payment directly to a monthly rent payment. This is a fundamental error in logic because a mortgage payment is split into principal and interest. Furthermore, a mortgage payment excludes ongoing operational costs of maintaining real estate. To find the truth, we must track every single dollar over a fixed multi-year horizon. We must compare two individuals with the exact same initial net worth and the exact same monthly surplus. We must watch how their money behaves when it is subjected to two completely different economic machines. Now watch what happens when we apply this rule to a real-world scenario over 15 years.
Let us fully introduce our two individuals so we can run the real math. Jake has brown hair and wears a blue polo shirt with khaki pants. Jake prefers safety and does not regularly check his long-term investment projections. He feels a slight sense of worry about the future, so he wants to lock in a fixed housing cost. Marcus has dark hair and wears a green sweater with dark jeans. Marcus regularly checks his numbers and remains calm and confident in his data-driven approach. Both Jake and Marcus have saved exactly $100,000 in cash. Both Jake and Marcus earn the exact same income and have a maximum housing budget of $2,528 per month. Jake uses his entire $100,000 as a 20% down payment on a $500,000 home. His mortgage loan balance is exactly $400,000. The prevailing mortgage interest rate is exactly 6.5%. This fixes his monthly principal and interest payment at $2,528. Marcus takes his $100,000 and places it entirely into a low-cost global equity index fund. Marcus finds an identical home right next door to Jake that is available to rent for exactly $2,200 per month. Because Marcus only pays $2,200 for rent, he has a monthly surplus. His surplus is the difference between Jake's mortgage payment and his own rent payment. That monthly surplus is exactly $328. Marcus automates his accounts so that this $328 goes directly into his index fund every single month. Let us look at year 1. Jake pays $30,336 in total mortgage payments.
Out of that amount, exactly $25,876 goes toward pure interest. Only $4,460 reduces his principal balance. Jake also pays $4,000 for property taxes and home insurance. He spends an additional $5,000 on routine maintenance because the hot water heater failed. Jake's total unrecoverable housing cost in year 1 is $34,876. Now look at Marcus in year 1. Marcus pays $26,400 in total rent. His initial $100,000 index fund grows at an average historical rate of 9%. By the end of year 1, his initial investment is worth $109,000. His monthly contributions of $328 add another $393 in compounded growth. Marcus finishes year 1 with a total investment portfolio of $113,329. Let us skip forward to year 5 to see the cumulative effect. Jake's home has appreciated at a standard rate of 4% per year. His $500,000 home is now worth $608,326. His remaining mortgage principal has been reduced to $380,412. However, over these 5 years, Jake has spent $125,210 in pure interest. He has also spent $20,000 on taxes and $50,000 on keeping the house functional. Now look at Marcus at the end of year 5. His monthly rent has increased by a modest 3% annually, so he now pays $2,476. His monthly investment surplus has shrunk slightly, but his portfolio has been compounding aggressively at 9%. Marcus now holds an index fund balance of $186,452. Let us move directly to year 10. Jake's property value has grown to $740,122. His remaining mortgage balance is now down to $348,190. Jake feels wealthy because his paper equity is $391,932. But Jake forgets that he has now spent $243,000 on pure interest over the decade. He has also spent $40,000 on taxes and $50,000 on keeping the house functional. Now look at Marcus at year 10. His index fund has crossed a massive psychological threshold. The portfolio balance for Marcus has reached $311,648. The annual organic growth of his index fund is now generating $28,000 per year without him adding a single new dollar. Let us look at the final destination at year 15. Jake's home is now officially valued at $905,116. His remaining mortgage principal is exactly $308,000. If Jake sells the house and pays off the bank, he walks away with $592,516. But we must subtract the transaction costs of selling, which average 6% or $54,000. We must also subtract the cumulative unrecoverable costs he paid over 15 years to keep the asset alive. Those costs are $243,000 in interest and $60,000 in taxes and $75,000 in maintenance. Jake's true net wealth position from his housing decision is exactly $174,516. Now let us look at Marcus at year 15. Marcus never had to pay for a broken roof or a property tax assessment. His initial $100,000 has compounded at 9% for 15 years and is now worth $364,248. His automated monthly contributions of the surplus capital have compounded separately to reach $152,453. The total net wealth position for Marcus is exactly $516,701. Let us run the final subtraction to see the clear winner. $516,701 minus $174,516 leaves a massive gap. Marcus is richer than Jake by exactly $342,185. Here is the part nobody puts in the brochure. The financial industry uses the phrase home equity to blind you to the reality of structural capital friction. When you buy a primary residence, you are hit by 3 specific villain mechanisms that systematically drain your net worth. The first villain mechanism is mortgage interest front-loading. Amortization schedules are mathematically engineered to extract the vast majority of the bank's profit in the first decade of the loan. You believe you are building equity with every monthly payment you make. In reality, during the initial years, over 80% of your check is diverted directly to the bank's bottom line as pure profit. The second villain mechanism is the property maintenance drag. Real estate platforms show you beautiful charts of historical home prices rising over time. Those charts are highly inaccurate because they never factor in the physical decay of the structure. A house requires constant capital injections just to maintain its baseline value. Replacing a roof or fixing a foundation does not make the house worth more than its neighbors. It simply prevents the house from becoming worth significantly less. Every dollar you spend on maintenance is gone forever and cannot compound in the global markets. The third villain mechanism is opportunity cost capital lock. When you place $100,000 into a down payment, that money is instantly frozen. It becomes completely illiquid. You cannot easily withdraw $10,000 from your kitchen wall to buy a distressed asset during a market downturn. To access that money, you must take out a home equity loan, which forces you to pay even more interest to the bank. Marcus avoided all 3 of these traps by choosing a liquid strategy. His capital maintained maximum velocity from day one. He did not fight the front-loaded interest of a bank. He allowed the largest corporations in the world to work for him, while his landlord absorbed all the structural friction of property ownership. The real answer is that a primary residence is not a true investment. It is a lifestyle choice that carries a severe wealth tax. If you choose to buy a house, you should do it for stability and for personal freedom. You should never do it because you think it is the most efficient way to grow your money. The numbers show that the traditional path of buying a home can become a massive wealth trap. Let us zoom out and look at the ultimate reality of these choices over a full 30-year horizon. If Jake and Marcus continue on their paths, the wealth gap expands exponentially. By year 30, Jake will finally own his home completely free and clear. His asset will be worth $1.6 million, but he will have spent over $600,000 in total non-equity holding costs. Marcus will have an index fund portfolio worth over $1.8 million completely in liquid cash. The single number separating them is the $342,185 of momentum lost in the first 15 years. Here is your practical ranked action list to apply these findings to your life, from highest impact to lowest impact. First, calculate your true unrecoverable cost of housing. Add your projected annual maintenance and your property taxes and your mortgage interest together. Compare that total directly to the annual cost of renting a similar property in your specific neighborhood. Second, if the unrecoverable cost of owning is higher than renting, you must remain a renter and immediately automate your savings. You cannot rent and spend the surplus on lifestyle inflation, or you will lose to both strategies. Third, route your monthly surplus into a low-cost global index fund through a tax-advantaged account. Ensure the total expense ratio of your investment funds is below 0.10% to avoid fee drag. Fourth, if you already own a home, consider making extra principal payments during the first 7 years of the mortgage. This directly combats the mortgage interest front-loading mechanism and saves you thousands in future unrecoverable costs. Fifth, treat your primary residence as a pure expense item on your personal balance sheet rather than an investment asset. This shift in mindset will prevent you from overspending on renovations that offer zero financial return. If you want to run these numbers on your own situation, the link is in the description. Hit like if this connected dots for you. Subscribe to Noop Finance for more, and I will see you in the next video.